Greetings. I'm Peter Witt with the Sequor Youth Development Initiative and the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service. What is the scientific evidence concerning the impact of out-of-school time programs on youth development? How do out-of-school time programs make a difference in the lives of young people and for society generally? Let's begin with 3 ways. They can contribute to reducing juvenile delinquency, contribute to increasing positive and reducing negative behaviors for the participants, and while young people are involved in out-of-school time programs, it reduces the exposure they will have to violence in their community. OST programs contribute to reducing juvenile delinquency. On school days, the period from 3 to 6 p.m. is the peak time for teens and often younger people to commit crimes, be victims of crime, be involved in a car crash, smoke, drink, or use drugs, or commit a sexual assault. In other words, the unsupervised time is important to replace with supervised participation in quality out-of-school time programs. A survey of more than 612 to 17-year-olds found that those left unsupervised 3 days a week were twice as likely to hang out with gang members and 3 times as likely to use illegal drugs. Studies have found that students who participated in quality after-school programs like LA's Best had significantly lower instances of juvenile crime. In other words, participation in OST programs contributes to increasing positive and reducing negative behaviors in young people. OST participation reduces the likelihood of problems with drugs, alcohol, aggression, antisocial behavior, or becoming teenage parents because individuals are involved in constructive activities. For example, in a Chicago study, individuals who participated over multiple years in a school-based after-school program were more likely to decrease negative behaviors and increase positive behaviors than those who only participated 1 year. Longer participation helps. Exposure to violence can have critical negative effects for young people. Approximately 40% of inner-city youth are exposed to a shooting, and many more youth report exposure to less serious forms of community violence. Youth have a 60% greater risk of victimization in the 4 hours after school than from 8 p.m. to midnight. In other words, the 4 hours after school without adult supervision are absolutely critical to a young person's development. Studies have found that community violence occurs less frequently among youth who live in neighborhoods rich in youth-serving organizations. Community violence can have negative psychological as well as physical effects on young people. The next 4 ways that OST programs make a difference have to do with either indirect or direct impacts that participation of young people in OST programs can have on the economy. These include impacts on educational performance, impacts on the future economic contributions that young people will make to society when they become adults, impacts on decreasing healthcare costs, and impacts on worker productivity. OST programs can increase the economic contributions of young people to society when they become adults. As you can see in this slide, there is a vast difference in the average yearly income between those individuals who fail to graduate high school and those individuals who ultimately earn a master's degree or more. OST programs can help decrease healthcare costs related to childhood obesity. Youth who engage in adequate amounts of physically active recreation are more likely to be at an appropriate weight and at a reduced risk for later weight-related health problems. Reducing childhood obesity reduces future healthcare costs. In other words, there's a relationship between the participation in out-of-school time programs and ultimately how much society contributes to the healthcare costs of individuals. It's estimated that a direct lifetime medical cost associated with obesity is $19,000 per child at a minimum. Poor health can also impact self-esteem and academic achievement. And there's more. OST programs can help reduce parental stress and thus affect healthcare costs and lost job productivity. During the after-school hours, working parents may experience what has been labeled parental after-school stress by having to deal with questions such as, are my children safe? Are the after-school arrangements I've made reliable? Are my children using their time productively? It's estimated that PASS is costing companies from $50 to $30 billion in healthcare and lost productivity every year. Parents with high after-school related stress are more frequently interrupted, distracted, drained of energy at work by non-work issues, more frequently make workplace errors, more likely to turn down requests to work extra hours, and rate their productivity and the quality of their work significantly lower. In addition, OST programs can impact personal characteristics of the program participants. For example, self-confidence, optimism, and initiative. It can also increase civic responsibility and participation in society. The first of these characteristics has to do with initiative, the ability to be motivated, goal-directed, and able to complete tasks. OST programs can help in the development of this critical characteristic. Initiative is a core requirement for other components of positive development, such as creativity, leadership, altruism, and civic engagement. Membership in youth organizations can expose young people to both positive norms and the political and social skills needed for civic engagement. Youth who participate in these types of organizations when they're young are more likely to be involved in civic and community services when they become adults. But the bottom line is that programs that are going to help the economy, programs that are going to help children, programs that are going to relieve parental stress, programs that are going to make a difference in the lives of young people in society don't just happen. They have to be planned and presented intentionally. Children participating is not enough. That participation must be deliberate. In other words, we have to ask the question, if I do this, then this will happen. And if that happens, then this will eventually happen. That is the secret to quality after-school program planning. We hope you've enjoyed looking at the scientific evidence and what is the relationship between out-of-school time programmings and impacts that are made on individuals in society. We hope you will look at other videos that we've supplied on the Sequor YDI YouTube channel. This is Peter Witt with Sequor YDI wishing you a good day. Thank you.